administrators come here and visit, I want them to be able to see this. And when the Press Association called, I said, yeah, you guys can use this room. I think it's a great place to have something like this. So it's my pleasure to welcome you all. I think we met last year, and I talked to you guys about how I love newspapers. I've always read newspapers, read all the papers that I can now. And what I can tell you is I'm reading them more and more and enjoying it less and less now that I'm a speaker. But it's something that you have to do, and I realize that you guys have a job to do, and we have a job to do, and sometimes it's not always what you want, but I do respect the job that you guys have to do. And I always talk about in front of journalists. I too was once a journalist, writer for my high school paper and my college paper, so I kind of know what you guys go through, and I know it's not easy. I know there's deadlines and things, and so I appreciate what you guys do. I don't always enjoy the stories, but I do appreciate that you're all part of what we're trying to do here, which is have good government and let our citizens know about it. So I really want to welcome you all here, and hope you guys have a great day. I think you guys have lunch after this, so maybe this won't be too long, but I am really happy to answer the questions that you guys have. And let's start with the Kansas City Star. Want to do that?
I do.
Okay.
I was talking to Senator Lichmeyer last week, just kind of Kansas City specifically.
Yeah.
He mentioned that the state may have to suspend some laws or like traffic laws for the World Cup.
Yeah.
Is that something that you're considering? You've spoken with other Republicans about some tweaks that you may have to make to statutes in preparation for the World Cup?
I have not heard about us needing to change laws at the state level to accommodate people at the World Cup. I imagine there will be a number of things that we have to do to accommodate hundreds of thousands of people that come here, but to change state law for roads and people getting around, I haven't heard about that.
Is the state done in terms of funding for the World Cup, or is there going to be more coming from?
No, I think this is, and I think you'll probably hear about this next week at the State of the State, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the state. The kind of advertising and marketing that we're going to get out of this, you really can't put a number on. So to say that we're done investing in this, I don't think that's necessarily the case. And I will be very supportive of investing what we need in terms of transportation security to make sure we have the greatest event that we can have, because I think it's going to pay dividends that 1,000 times full of what we invest into it. Rudy.
Last year, a tweet from this event with Cindy O'Loughlin basically broke the Senate. Senator Ida came knocking, someone knocking at the door demanding she come in and explain why she said she would expel him. How do you characterize this year as different from last year? Your chamber, the Senate chamber, are things significantly different, better, worse? How do you characterize it?
Well, I don't want to jinx anything, but they are better. And we were talking about this last night. I was with Senator Berger, and I said, we were joking around, how many days until your first meltdown? And there is a difference, and I think a lot of it has to do with, a lot of it is luck. We have a new administration, just that energy different. There are no statewide offices to run for, so if you're a senator, it's either work or cause trouble for no reason, unless someone's thinking about primarying Auditor Fitzpatrick, which good luck to them. I think the people that we have over there also make a difference. I served with, I think, 5 people that went over there, and I know a lot of them are very conservative, but I know that they want to get things done as opposed to kind of just be in the news and make trouble. So I think those 3 things, a little bit of luck, personnel, just timing, I think that has made a difference. Now, I'm under no illusion that there won't be a conflict later on this session, because I think that's the nature of what we'll do here, but I'm hopeful and optimistic that that can be minimized and that we actually get a lot of things done. And then it also helps with that leadership of our new governor, who was a creature of the Senate and kind of knows what's going on there, knows the lay of the land, knows what's going through the Senator's mind, and I think he's going to help shepherd that process as well.
So to follow up, I have seen the governor out in the hallways twice, and this is different from my experience with the previous governor and then one of his how important is it gonna be for his administration that he has that relationship?
Well, I think everything that happens here in Jeff City is based on relationships, so the fact that our governor is doing that, I think is fantastic. And I don't know much about what Governor Nixon did, and then when I got here, Governor Patterson was in his administration already. But the fact that we have a governor that will walk around to members' offices, introduce himself, talk to them about issues that matter to them, and then of course every member will talk about issues back home that matter to their constituents. All of that will pay dividends at the end of session when the member needs something or the governor needs something, that we can work together. What I've seen in the past is at the end of session, there is not that communication. And then it's all the stuff that happens between people that are not communicating, and that causes a lot of the breakdown. So the fact that the governor is investing in this now, I think, one, is very smart. Two, it kind of, I think it's the car salesman. And when I say car salesman, I always mean in a good way, because that's the kind of guy that will come to your office, call you at home, ask if you need anything, and that I think will pay dividends.
I have two questions.
Yes, ma'am.
First one, I want to ask, what are you expecting to come out of the State of the State next week? Any key issues? You touched on the World Cup. Can we expect childcare? Can we expect Chiefs and Royals? Can we expect Amendment 3? What insight can you give us?
Well, I don't want to give anything away. We've been sworn to secrecy, but I think overall, I think what you'll hear is the same thing that the governor, the narrative that he's been advocating for, which is public safety. I think you'll hear about education. I think you will hear about childcare, and you will hear about World Cup. So it's kind of the things that he's been talking about. You might hear more specifics about it, kind of like investing in World Cup, but it's kind of more of just more specifics about the narrative that he wants to project for Missouri.
My other question has to do with Amendment 3. We just heard from the Lieutenant Governor that he said that he believes there's a package that's going to start in the House, come over to the Senate. Can you tell us what that is? Is it repealing it from what the voters said? I know this is going to be a topic that all eyes are on. Yesterday there were hundreds of supporters here telling lawmakers to leave it alone.
Yeah.
What can you give us about Amendment 3?
Well, what I can tell you is I think we're all trying to come up with the plan, as I've said, that makes Missouri the most pro-life state it can be, which recognizes that the voters spoke in November, but also that House Republicans anyway are pro-life, and we want it to be as pro-life as it can be. So we're looking at a number of the bills that have been filed, and I think what I see is that we don't have that bill yet, and we're waiting on things to coalesce around the bill. I'm actually talking with different members about what they think, and there's a wide range of views on this. So I don't think there is one yet. We're just kind of trying to find the bill that we think makes Missouri as pro-life as it can be, and that would pass the voters. So again, it recognizes that the voters spoke, and that whatever we do has to go back to the will of the voters. And it's hard because we want to make it as pro-life as possible, but I don't think the voters would pass a repeal. So we have to find something that is in between.
I know you had created a working group to work on this. Are
Yes.
those meetings with the working group going to be public?
No, and I think there's been some talk about us having maybe a special committee to look at it. I think right now it's just informal discussions. I was actually surprised that you let us get away with a working group. With who you are.
That seems maybe a little.
Yeah, I think, and we want to be as transparent as possible, so that's why somebody brought up, well, maybe you should just have a special committee and have these discussions in public, which I think is good government. But right now, I think it's kind of more one-on-one discussions, people getting lunch together and saying, what should we do? But again, we're committed to making Missouri as pro-life as it can be, and we just don't know what that vehicle is yet. And I think things will coalesce, I think in the middle of session, and then the final, the finale will happen at the end of session, I would assume. Yes, sir.
Can you talk about term limits? I mean, I think it's a conversation that comes up, whenever the group of lawmakers
Yeah.
comes in.
Okay.
How do you feel about term limits? Do you feel like it's limiting? Do you feel like it's a good thing?
Well, actually, thank you for the question. Can you, since I don't know you, tell me?
John Acker with the Joplin Club, I'm sorry.
Okay, nice to meet you, John, and welcome. Term limits, I'm not a big believer in term limits. I think people can vote, and those are term limits. I think reasonable, because, again, nobody needs to be here for 30 years, but 8 is just the absolute worst number. And especially for your leadership. When I got here, I was a member, and then learned how to do that. Then was a chair, and had to learn how to do that. Then I was floor leader, had to learn how to do that. Every step of the way has just been learning, and now I'm kind of learning how to do this job. And then by the time you kind of get it, you're out the door, and then that continuity just isn't there. So I would be supportive of the 16 year.
Are you in your final term?
I am, yeah, thankfully.
And could you talk about this? You mentioned earlier.
Yes.
This room, Tom Sargent.
Right.
From our part of the state.
Yes.
Talk about this room, this mural, and the importance of it. You talk about letting people use it.
Right, yeah, and this is, without a doubt, the most beautiful room at the Capitol. I think it's the most iconic, hello, Senator. It's the most iconic room. And so when people come here, I think they really ought to appreciate the beauty of it. I can tell you, I don't know as much about the actual painting as I should, and actually we're scheduling a tour so I can learn about it and tell people about it, because that's interesting. I do know at some point that the legislature, the General Assembly, said we're not paying for this. And because there's a few things that upset the General Assembly, and they said we're not going to pay for it. But obviously, the funds were there and they eventually paid for it. But there are a lot of stories in here, and I think the fourth graders especially that come up here, I think they should get to see it and learn about it. Okay, one more question.
Representative Coleman has HJR 33, deals with the Kansas City Public Schools and their tax levies.
Yeah.
Is that a priority of the session? Like, where do you stand on that?
Well, I think it's a good policy, because I think the people of Kansas City on their tax levies are hurt by it. But the school district and the city, it's a tough issue. I do support the legislation. I think you will perhaps see it at some point, because I think it's good legislation. It's just I'm talking with the representative about how to go about doing that. Again, there are a lot of people that have strong feelings about that. So before we do anything, we want to make sure that there is some room for compromise, and that we're not just wasting time with bills. So that's kind of where I am at that stage on that.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, have a great day, and have a great lunch.
Elizabeth, did you want to talk about, one quick before we get out of here. This is Elizabeth Stevens.
Come on back to the microphone.
Tell who you are.
Okay, the only reason I wanted to speak is one of my best friends in the back. I'm Senator Barbara Washington. I represent Jackson County, Kansas City, and Ringtown. And I just wanted to say thank you all for what you do, because I used to do what you do. So I worked at the Star, Business Journal, Business Week magazine. I went to the best journalism school in the world. Can anybody guess? My brother actually is not from Kansas. So who? He don't even have journalism. Journalism, not communication. But I want to say thank you, and I hope that you all can continue to do what journalism was started to do, and that is to be the voice of the people, be at forefront of the government. I really appreciate you all coming down. You can come to my office anytime. Some of y'all might get a call because somebody's making me file a bill. For student journalists, we've been trying for 8 years to get this through, so we'll continue to do that. But I really want to say thank you to everybody here for just doing what you do.
Okay, I'm going to represent the best journalism school in the world. So I am Elizabeth Stevens. I'm the executive editor of the Columbia Missourian. I'm also a professor at the University of Missouri and the community newspaper management chair. So part of my job is to be connected with all of you and the needs you have for your newspapers, newsrooms. And one of the things I want to do a better job of is connecting you with our students, because they are great and they need to know how great you guys are and what great opportunities there are to work for you. So we're hosting a Missouri Press Day at the J School on March 14th. It's from 9 to 1. It's part job fair. If you want to do one-on-one interviews, we'll do some matches and set those up for you. We'll have some panels where we have, like, I'm going to steal like Kaylee Kern and I saw some maybe Kason to talk about working in your newsrooms. Some of our alums that do that, some of the younger journalists to come back and do that. Colin's another one. The students can hear about that experience from kind of people who've been in their shoes, and then we'll talk about with those students the opportunities for Potter ambassadors, internships with Missouri Press, the Rural Missouri Scholarship, and then we'll end the day with a panel of the editors, publishers that are there, just to kind of talk about the great value of community news and what you're doing in your newsroom. So there was a flyer, and it's in emails, I believe, that are going out from Matthew. So if you sign up, that helps me kind of know what we're going to get, and it also gives you a chance to say if you just want to come, hang out, meet people, or if you want that intense, like, I have a job opening, I want to sit down and interview students. So I want to know the difference in those things, and just know who we've got coming so I can promote it to students. So we would love to have you guys come. We'll provide breakfast, lunch, it's 9 to 1, March 14th. Thanks.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
So, is it in a job fair, does that mean like my company would bring a table and a display, or is it more network?
Yes, so we have space to do tables. If you want to set one up, if you just want to just wander around, talk to students, also cool. I'm totally open. But yes, there's the questionnaire asks you all those things. If you want a table, if you want one-on-one interviews, if you just want to come see how it is, and even if you don't have a position open right now, I just think it's really important for the students to see you and hear about what the work you're doing. And part of the goal with the panels is to bring in our younger students, so even our freshmen and sophomores that haven't gotten to the point where they're thinking about jobs, but kind of get them in the fold of thinking about working in Missouri newsrooms.
I think it's an awesome idea and a really great opportunity for us as newspaper publishers, reporters, editors to explain why what we do is so important and why we need another generation of that. So please, if you're able, participate in that. It would be a great opportunity. Now, we're going to conclude this part of the program and walk our way down to the governor's mansion for lunch. So if you're joining us, please make your way that way.